Thrilled to be joined by Jameson Taillon on the Circa Resort and Casino hotline. Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, home of the world's largest sportsbook. Jameson, thanks for the time, man. How you doing today?
Yeah, that was a cool little intro there. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We're excited to get to know you a little bit, so we appreciate it. Our producer actually talked to you at Cubs convention and said, he's like, Jameson's just a real sweetheart. Great guy to talk to, loves bourbon, loves restaurants. You guys are going to love him. So is that true? Are you a big bourbon guy?
Big bourbon guy, big restaurant guy. I like to get out there in the cities that I play in and you know, get to know them. I think one of the best ways you can do that is kind of like eating and drinking your way through it. Coffee, I love bourbon. I love restaurants. I love getting out there and exploring. And all that. So I'm excited to take on Chicago and get this all going.
Got a favorite bourbon you want to shout out that people ought to try and think of you?
I'll just say, like, you know, there's so many bourbons that are really, really tough to find in restaurants or liquor stores and all that. But something that I can find like pretty easily is like a Russell's Reserve single barrel, like 10-year. And if it's a store pick of that would be like something that I can find at any liquor store and really enjoy it.
Oh, nods of approval from across the glass here at the radio station there, Jameson. And of course you like coffee because that's what you need the next morning before you get ready for the day. And I know you're a pour-over guy in New York. I'm a Chemex guy myself. But have you and Ian Happ set up a shared coffee setup out there in Mesa? Because the regular stuff they have there for the media is unimpressive.
So I'm not comfortable enough just yet, getting all that going, but we actually have nitro cold brew on tap, which is pretty nice. I've been enjoying that. And I enjoy stopping for coffee on my way to the field, or I'll buy cold brew, at the store and stuff to have it ready. But definitely by the time the season gets rocking and we have all those day games, I'm sure I'll have a pour over set up in the locker room.
There you go.
Perfect. And so, sorry, he's into the coffee. I'm more into the bourbon. Are you a collector? Like, will you pay above market price for it, or does that offend your sensibilities?
So I try not to.
Okay.
But there are some bottles that I have that I've paid overpriced for. But yeah, I really try my best not to. Yeah, I've got a collection. I wouldn't say I'm a collector, but I have a decent collection.
Okay, so we'll at some point, hey, and why not splurge on what you like? But Jameson Taillon is with us. We're looking forward to you going through Chicago and giving us your restaurant reviews once you get to town and have a little bit more information about it. But the stories of you choosing Chicago, you heard Jed in that intro say that, you know, he got the sense that you weren't the guy who was out for necessarily the top dollar. We know you talked to ex-Cubs. Can you just tell us about the match and the recruitment process, them to you and you to them?
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely, and I heard it in that video too, like, I wasn't really interested in dragging out my free agency, until spring training or anything like that. I have this, like, sincere feeling that I have more to offer. I feel like I have another gear that I should be capable of hitting, and I felt like the best way to achieve that was, like, one, to get on board with a good organization like the Cubs with good pitching coaches and a good pitching department and a good catching situation and a good defense. Like, it checks a lot of the boxes for me, but also just to get on board early so I could have that communication throughout the offseason and, send Tommy Hotovy and Daniel Moscos and those guys like my pitching videos and like my drill work and what I was working on just to get familiar with each other. So now that, once spring training gets rolling, it's like, I feel like I've known these guys, like the staff and stuff, for months already. Like, it's not like we're in that introduction phase. Like, we're going to work.
That's really cool. You talked to a few different teams. There used to be this obvious truth that some organizations were ahead of others in terms of game prep and pitch science and the kind of infrastructure that you're talking about. A lot of people think that, like, most teams have caught up. Is there still that divide where some teams are better than others? Do the Cubs have an advantage in that way?
I think so. Something that I've seen just from my short time with the Cubs is that a lot of organizations have access to the information. Like, there's no secret, like, TrackMan and the biomechanics stuff, pitching labs, like, those are all very useful, and having weighted ball routines and having, high speed video for your releases and stuff. But I think what the Cubs do well that I heard when I was, going through the process and that I've seen since I've been here is that the communication's next level. Like, it's one thing to say, oh, you have an inefficiency with your lower half and your mechanics. It's another for the pitching coach to go to the strength staff and be like, hey, we're going to train this inefficiency in the weight room. Like, we're going to get you doing like med ball drills, or we're going to get you on a different workout routine just to try to address some of these things. And so far, like, the Cubs are very proactive about these things, and the communication between like PTs and strength coaches and all that has been like very impressive.
Jameson Taillon, new Cubs pitcher, is our guest. So you said, there's another gear that you think you can get to. Can you quantify that or go into further detail, whether it's in stated goals for this year, or how do you see yourself? Like, if you reach that next level, what does that look like for the common fan?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've got a nice foundation and a nice base under me. Like, I know how to go out there, take the ball every fifth day, and compete at the big league level. But that being said, like, I think sometimes the longer you've played in the big leagues, the more you just get kind of cast into like, you are who you are. You're going to be who you are. We're not going to improve that. Like, and I just don't really fully believe in that. Like, I don't think I'm a finished product. I might be 31 years old, but like, I just don't believe that. I think, I'm not content with having 170 innings and a 3.9 ERA. Like, I think I have more to offer, and I'm willing to put in the work to find that, to reach that next level. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, is just like, I don't think anyone is a finished product, and all the successful guys I've been around, like the Garrett Coles and even the Aaron Judges, are always like talking, learning, listening, trying to figure things out. And so, that's kind of where I'm at.
It's so funny around baseball. A lot of times it's just, hey, you're really good at throwing that pitch. Why don't you throw it more? Your new teammate, Michael Fulmer, threw a slider like 24% of the time at the beginning of his career. Last year, he threw it 64% of the time, So, like, is that going to happen with you, your curve or something like that? Are we going to see a jump in your pitch mix?
Yeah, so I think, we've definitely had these conversations, and you don't fully know until the season gets going. Like, it's one thing in spring training to say, like, I'm going to throw my curveball more, which I do plan on throwing my curveball more this year, but like, the hitters will kind of also let you know. Like, I'm guessing Fulmer, like, maybe their analytics department told them, hey, your slider's really dang good, throw it. But like, once you're out there and you're getting the results that you desire, that's when you're like, okay, like, if I'm getting swing and miss on my curveball, I will throw it more. But, it's one thing to say in spring training you're going to do something. It's another one. It's like, the stats count against the back of your baseball card and the team's wins and losses and stuff. So we'll see where we end up, but I'm tinkering with the new slider. I do plan on throwing my curveball more. I plan on throwing my cutter a little more. But we'll kind of just go out there in the games in spring training with the intent to put that to work, and we'll see where we end up.
New Cubs pitcher Jameson Taillon is with us here on Parkins and Spiegel on 670 The Score. You're one of the guys that we hear about for this pitching staff. These guys, they're going to pitch to weak contact, and then the defense is going to gobble up all these balls. And is that something you think about? Like, how do you pitch to weak contact? You aim for the handle? You aim for the hands? Like, what's the mindset on that for a pitcher?
So I think there's a few things. Like, obviously swing and miss is kind of sexy and it looks good on your numbers, but you have to know, like, when do you want to hunt swing and miss? When do you want to hunt weak contact? Like, maybe if my pitch count's high and the bullpen's taxed and we're in the middle of a 15 games in a row stretch, like, I need to get weak contact and work through this lineup as quick as possible and, go deep into the game. And having a good defense behind you and having a good catching situation and stuff will help with that. But like, weak contact's not always on the hands. It could be, a slider down and away for a ground ball, or it could be, all sorts of different things. So just depends on the hitter, depends on the scouting report. And that's something that, like, the catchers and the pitching coaches and everyone kind of works on together.
Jed said, one of the things was he's pitched in a big market before. What's the difference for, like, experientially from 82 wins as a peak in your, I think, 4 years with the Pirates, Yankees and Cubs? What's the difference between small market and big market baseball life?
I mean, I would say, like, I walked through the door in New York and it was like instant, like, expectations changed a little bit. Like, you walk through the door and everything they do is to win. Like, it's not so much about development at that stage. It's more about winning. The players are preparing on a whole new level that I had never seen before. Not bashing anyone in Pittsburgh, but it was like, you're in there with Aaron Judge and he's taking care of his business. Like, man, I need to pick up my game to like take care of my business. So that was a big change for me. And then just big market, obviously more eyes on you, a little bit more pressure, but I enjoyed it, to be honest. I thought the big market and the pressure and the expectations and the winning and stuff like that, like it only made me show up with a little more urgency every day, to be honest.
See, that's interesting because you've been that guy. When you're in high school, people are like, oh, there's Steven Strasburg, and now the next guy is Jameson Taillon, and there's Josh Beckett. Like, you were that pitcher at the top, so you probably felt those expectations in high school, and it's not anything new.
Yeah, and I think some of my experiences along the way, being a top prospect or having eyes on me when I was 18 years old, 17 years old, I think that all helps prepare you. But, like, when you play in a city like New York or Chicago, like, I think you just have to get experience and, perform in front of those eyes and get comfortable with it and stuff also. I feel like everything in life, kind of your experiences in the past build you up to who you are and definitely help out.
What'd Rizzo tell you about the Cubs?
Well, one, he told me they were interested, and two, he kind of told me he still had a lot of good friends over there, and obviously that it's a great city when you win. And he said, hey, if you get the opportunity, like, you should take it. It's a great place to play, a great place to win.
I think that's cool for Cubs fans to hear because, that core meant so much to this city and this fan base. But then obviously you wanted them to all be Cubs for life and it didn't work. And then you get worried that he doesn't have good things to say or the memories aren't all fond. So I think that's reassuring what you're saying.
Yeah, and I heard the same from like Scott Efros, who wasn't there as long, or like a Trevor Williams, who I'm close with, just like, playing at Wrigley and getting to call that home and those fans in that city, like, depending obviously on who else is interested in everything, they were like, if the Cubs show interest in free agency, you have to consider it. So when the Cubs called on day one of free agency, I was pretty freaking excited about it.
I hope Rizzo gave you some good dirt on Ross. It's not like,
oh, good point,
right? Like his favorite karaoke song, or it's some way to set him up because somebody needs to chop that guy down to size, Jameson, and you're the guy to do it.
I don't have any dirt on him, to be honest. We'll see where this year takes us, though. I'll see if I can get anything.
Jameson, this was fun, man. Thank you. Don't be a stranger to the show. We hope to do it again soon, and good luck this year.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Talk to you guys later.
Appreciate it.